Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kershaw Launch 13. Wow, they've got a lot of these things. I will link this knife right down in the description so that those of you who can legally own and carry an auto where you live can pick this up. I will also list all of the Kershaw Launch series knives so that you can check out everything that they've got in their automatic series. And I'll link Kershaw knives in general so that you guys can take a look and see what they've got, what else they've got. Thank you so much to the gentleman who sent this. He refers to just be referred to as a patron. And thank you very much for sending this in for review. Really, really nice of you. People always ask me, so people just like give you knife? No, like these are usually loaners. So this knife was lent to me for review and then it'll go back to the person who lent it to me. So thank you so much for loaning me your Kershaw Launch 13. Thank you also my generous patrons for supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some cool stickers and other benefits, there's of course a link right down in the description. Your support would mean the world to me. And please follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the Launch 13 coming in at 8 inches. Blade length, 3.5 inches. Cutting edge, 3.3, something like that. Pretty darn close anyway. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. Whoops, Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. So you can see that this isn't a small knife. It's got kind of a slender profile, right? But 8 inches right there in, you know, full-size knife territory is what I'd call it. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. Why does it look... It's the angle of the camera. And because I've got it too. There we go. 8.3 inches overall on the Spyderco PM2. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue coming in the exact same length as at about 8 inches overall. Good size comparison there. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? Spyderco Para 3 coming in at 7.25 inches overall. And last but not least, the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. Mini Griptilian coming in at 6.75 inches overall. How's the action on this guy? This is an automatic knife. Kershaw Launch Series knives are all automatic. You push the button to unlock it, close it, and then, you know, you've got spring tension here, so as soon as you push the button, bam. Pretty snappy. Impressive snappiness. I don't know if Kershaw's doing something a little bit different. These aren't quite as powerful as ProTech side-opening automatic knives, but they don't cost nearly as much. I think you're getting a really great, snappy quality action for the amount of money that you're going to pay for this guy, which is about $120. This is a US-made auto. Like I said, you can find pricing down below. But we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But yeah, the action's pretty good. Feels good. It doesn't feel wonky or clicky or anything like that. Locks out solid. No up and down play that I'm feeling, right? Button feels good. No stickiness. And there's no, like, weird detent clicky lashy stuff, right? Everything's solid. It's exactly the way that you would expect an auto to perform. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. Get out my tools here. I've got these listed down in the description, so you can check that out if you want to. These are very inexpensive. I, of course, also have expensive options too. The captive part of this pivot is cut like a gem. That's really interesting. I honestly, I think this is really cool. It's not something that I see all the time, right? It's not something that's overly complicated, but it looks nice. I appreciate how they cut that, right? The adjustment side is on the non-show side. I'm going to guess that's a T8. Let's go ahead and give that a checkaroo. I'm in my 30s, so I can add a roo to things. Yeah, T8 on the pivot, and then your body screws, I'm not going to check them because they're T6. I wish they weren't, but Kershaw loves T6. A lot of companies like T6. I don't. I wish everything was T8 or you know, bigger, but you can't always get what you want. Just be really careful if you're going to disassemble this guy. These can strip easily, and so can the heads on your, you know, bit set. Yeah, even if they're you know, that's happened to me before. Amateur. Anyways, yeah, I'm happy with that. There's a minimal amount of hardware in this knife, so that's fine. It's not a deal breaker, right? Just be careful with it. Let's go ahead and do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. This is actually, it's about the same thickness, Spyderco Para 3. Height and length up against two knives with awkward carry profiles. Nobody ever complains about PM2 and Para 3. Height-wise, nowhere near as tall as either. Length-wise, just a hair longer than the pair of 3, right? It's not a cumbersome object. The frame is made of aluminum, 6061 T6. I'll let you guys take a look at the inside. You can pick up my flashlight down in the description. Skeletonized, I mean, because of the holes, the aesthetic milling that they did on the outside, right, it is kind of skeletonized, but it is aluminum all the way through, which is fine. Weight on this guy, I'm gonna guess it's pretty lightweight. Yeah, 2.5 ounces. I don't think anybody's gonna complain about that. My mini bug out only weighs 1.75 ounces. Congratulations. This is still a freaking super lightweight knife. That's awesome. 8 inches and 2.5 ounces. That, seriously, did I mess it? I gotta make sure that I didn't mess something up. Hang on. Hang on. Set the ounces. Okay, yeah, 2.43 ounces. That's great. This isn't going to be a problem for anybody except for people who can't carry knives of this blade length or this, you know, the automated nature of it, right? The automatic nature of it. Sorry, my background keeps scooting around. Yeah, this is going to be comfortable in, you know, most situations. It's not very thick. It's low profile. It's not, you know, wide or tall or anything like that. That's great. No matter who you are, you should be, you know, fairly comfortable carrying this thing. All right, did we get through everything? So, who designed this? Was it Elijah Isham? Yeah, that's what I thought first. No, apparently this is an in-house design, right? I'm not going to say that they copied him. There are plenty of knife makers, knife manufacturers out there who have, you know, used this same design element, this really futuristic, right? Look at the Custom Knife Factory Decepticon from forever ago. Same idea, right? It is just, it's got that sort of Isham-y, Warncliffe, and, you know, the holes and the really, you know, crazy looking milling patterns, right? Yeah, kind of, that's what I thought, and I was like, oh no, you know, it's not, you know, this, it's just one of those elements that you see in some other knife designers' works, primarily Elijah Isham, but do I think this was a copy of anything? No, you know. It's too, you know, particular to, you know, doing its own thing to really say that it's a copy. I do think it looks cool, though. Some people are really into this. I don't like excessive busyness, personally, and that's an aesthetic, personal thing. But as long as it doesn't get in the way of, like, in this case, it's all on the handle here. If it doesn't, you know, make it functionally bad or get in the way while you're trying to hang on to it, then I'm okay with it. And in this case, yeah, handle profile is great. It's very comfortable, very ergonomic. The pocket clip is a little bit narrow and pokey, but honestly, you know, I'm right-handed. This is a right-handed, you know, automatic knife. No, I don't really feel it. Everything's been nicely knocked down. This just the whole area just doesn't bother me. And you could make an argument that there's a little bit of, you know, it creates a little bit of excess traction there, so that's fine. I'm not going to complain about that. The button is recessed, so for people who are constantly concerned that the switchblade is going to go off in their pocket, right? Probably not. It's actually, you know what's funny is it's kind of recessed, but it does actually stick just a little bit above the frame. I've never had an auto go off in my pocket. Considering how I'm going to carry this, right, the button's going to be up against my leg, and the inner part of my leg is going to be pushing against everything all the way around the button. It's going to probably conform around the button because my skin is not made of metal, right? So the amount of pressure that would have to be applied between the, you know, the outer part of my leg and the button where this is going to contact to get it to go off, I don't know. I'd probably have to be running and slamming my hip into some hard surface, which is not usually something that I'm doing while I'm walking around, so I don't really have an issue with that. Easy to actuate, right? Easy to press. Just press it in a little bit. It takes quite a bit. It's not actually going to deploy until you get it right about there. So yeah, quite a bit. That's fine. Yeah, the holes go all the way through, right? And these are nicely knocked down, so it's not sharp or anything on the inside here. Check out the back of this. Just like a seam. Kind of looks like a backspacer, but this whole area back here has been milled to be very intricate and detailed, and it kind of looks cool, right? They've got a little area for a lanyard. You know, if you want to put a paracord lanyard on it, you can, right? Few people still do that. It is milled out to accept a pocket clip on the, you know, for left-handed carry. This is still a right-handed automatic knife, but if you want to carry it in your left-handed pocket, right, you can pull it out and just deploy it with your index finger, which is honestly pretty easy to do. I don't have an issue with that. Pivot, again, we'll take another look at that. Sorry, I bumped the camera. I like that, the captive end of the pivot. I like how it's cut like a gem. It's just neat. Of course, that helps, you know, when you're making adjustments. It won't rotate. Blade. Probably the most striking part of this. This is an aggressive Wharncliffe style blade. I like this area. They've milled this area out and sort of highlighted it with the two. This is the DLC two-tone with satin finished, right? Jimping's in the right place. This is very comfortable right here. Absolutely. This is going to be a, you know, Wharncliffes and sheepsfoot style blades, I think in my experience, are actually preferable if I'm going to go out and do little, I mean, outside or inside home projects, actually. I think these blade shapes actually excel. I don't necessarily need a lot of belly in my blades when I'm doing more puncture cuts and more cuts like this, or opening packages and things. I really like that. That's why your utility style blades, right, your box cutters like this are shaped exactly the same way. Well, let's just use a box cutter. Sorry, that's how it sounds in my head when people ask questions like that. Because this is boring, that's why. This is boring. It works just fine. I don't want to use that. I want to use this. Because this is cool and this sucks. Sorry. Man, I'm going to catch heat for that in my comment section. I know that I can just use one of these, right? I've done the math on that. Actually, you know, at $25 a year for the replaceable razor blades for people who use their knives all the time, after 4 years, you can pay for this, right? But there's a million other arguments, right? That doesn't necessarily settle the argument. I actually have a video on why I prefer knives like this over a box cutter. People can go watch that if they want to. Okay, sorry for starting a whole bunch of arguments. But anyways, I like these this style of blade for sure. The blade steel on this guy is CPM 154. That is my very favorite blade steel of all time. Very, very well-rounded powder form version of 154 cm. Easy to sharpen, considerably tough. Good edge retention, right? It's not going to be as good as M390, but it's tougher than M390, right? It's definitely easier to sharpen. These are qualities that I prefer in an EDC cutting tool. In fact, CPM 154 is welcome in almost any environment because it is also stainless, right? Not as stainless as LC200N, right? So it's not like if you're going to, you know, go diving, probably not the right knife, right? But for a lot of people, CPM 154 just works well. You'll see it on a lot of automatic knives. But anyways, this area up here, because it's a satin finished blade, is a little bit sharp. You can see it's shaving my fingernails. Sorry, that's kind of gross. For that reason, I always prefer a tumbled blade, unless they're going to go out of their way to chamfer those edges, which they didn't, so it kind of has that grippy kind of feeling to it. But okay, not that big of a deal. The satin finish on this guy looks pretty good. Another thing that I don't always like about satin finishes is if there is belt burn, you're going to see it on a satin finished blade. There isn't in this case, but I have seen that before. That's when you have discoloration in the lines, like the machining lines. I have absolutely seen that on Kershaw and ZT knives, and not just them. Lots of different manufacturers that do the same style of finish, you know, on their blades. But yeah, this looks great. It's fine. The tip is not going to be the most durable thing in the entire world, so don't try to dig this into something and pry around with it. But it's okay. Behind the edge, pretty thin. Impressively thin behind the edge. This is going to be a nice performance slicer. I think a lot of people are going to find that they really, really enjoy the geometry of this thing. It looks good, right? It says Kershaw Auto on one side. They've got a few 7650 KAI USA CPM 154. Not that big of a deal. I've seen much worse paragraphs from Kai. I don't know why we need to see the exact model number, right? I don't know why the word auto needs to be on there. I mean, I know it's an automatic knife, right? But that's okay. That's fine. Let's see. Moving down here to the pocket clip. The pocket clip is pretty good. A little bit pokey right here. This is a generic pocket clip. It can be a little bit difficult to get it over the seam of your pants because it's not rising too much. Sometimes you're going to have to use two hands to force it over, especially wearing thick pant material like jeans or work pants, right? It's okay. Carries definitely deep enough. Screws are not recessed, but that's not a big... You're not going to have to fight this area nearly as much as this area, but it's still decent. This is a solid B of a pocket clip. I'm okay with that. Doesn't necessarily go with the theme, but that's okay. I think because of where it's positioned, I'm just okay with it. And how much the knife costs, what I expect, right? You've got the flag over here, the U.S. flag over there, and there's really not a whole lot going on this side that's not going on this side, right? Except for the pivot. Really just okay with everything. The blade is 100% dead centered, right down the middle, and the lockup on this guy is solid. It's really all I could ask for, right? All things considered, materials, right, where it's made, everything, right? This is one of the better launch series. A lot of times I look at the launch series knives and I'm like, what the heck? This is so weird, right? This is also weird, but it also manages to be completely and totally functional. Very happy with this. Complaints, it's not going to be a complaint for everybody, but for a lot of people, it's going to be illegal. For a lot of people, it's going to be over the legal edge or blade limit, right? There's T6 screws on there. Pocket clip is kind of underwhelming, but it's totally okay for the price. Not a lot of room here to slip it up over your pants, right? It has a design, down here is going to appeal to some people and not to others. The blade is really, really cool. It's a little bit sharp up here behind, these little corners. These are all generic little nitpicks that I will, always point out on pretty much anything, but none of them are really deal breakers. This is absolutely 100% one of the best knives in the Kershaw launch series. In fact, the only two that I really like, honestly, are the Launch 11 and this guy, the Launch 13. The rest of them, I'm sure they're fine. They're plenty functional. In fact, we've got a Kershaw dealer in town where I've handled most of them. They're just kind of underwhelming. I like this guy. I think it's good. Something I want to point out here is this area right here, I think maybe could have been a forward choil. You'd have to remove a little bit more of the blade to get it to work, considering where that, that rounded tang is. It could have been. It might have taken away aesthetically from the design, but it's okay. You're just a little bit from the cutting edge, right? You're like half an inch, a little more than half an inch from the cutting edge. Other than that, though, pretty good. Can I recommend this knife? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. $120-ish. I've seen it for $118 all the way up to maybe a little more, $125, $126, something like that. Some in that area. Yeah, I can recommend this. This is going to go on my recommended knives playlist. Absolutely, I think that's a fine price. Like I said, you can check out this guy down in the description. All of the Kershaw launch knives down in the description, and Kershaw knives in general. Everything that they've got available right now through the retailers that I use. I will link all that stuff down below, so feel free to check that out. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.